Hi world, it's 20 past 11 in the morning. It is the 11th of February 2014. The moon has just moved into Aries, the void moon is over. The inconjunction yesterday of the sun with Jupiter and the over-the-top situations of yesterday for a lot of people are now clearing. Today is a much better day. Both today and tomorrow with the moon in Aries are likely to be far more proactive and outgoing, so go and make things happen. This is my take on the astrological second house. The second house relates to the second sign of Taurus, whereas Taurus relates to issues around value and worth, what it is that turns you on and you appreciate and enjoy. The second house describes how those values manifest in the eyes of the outside world. The challenging side of the second house is that when you find people with a lot of planets in the second house, they naturally become possessive. Whether this is possessive of money or food, you find the best food hoarders with the second house. They sometimes try and possess people or have, it's this idea that the more one has, the more one feels secure. And actually, of course, that's wrong, because you can have all the love, all the money, all the food, all the power in the world and still never feel secure. But it is the illusion of security that possessions and materials bring that governs the challenging side of the second house. These are people who can value purely in the material sense, as in they value other people by what they look like, what car they drive, how much money they've got. It's all to do with materials and possessions in the outside world. The second house is known as the house of money. It's also about assets, property to a lesser extent, or the value of property, and all types of resources, whether that is material or otherwise. The positive side of the second house is that of generosity and big-heartedness. People with a lot of planets in the second house often end up giving away much of their possessions, money, wealth. When I say wealth, I do not mean just financially, because they know that the more you give, the more you've got to give. What goes round comes round. That the idea you can't take it with you is often an attribute that's spoken by second house people, especially those with positive aspects to their planets. They know that the joy of materials is not in the possessing or the owning, but it is in the using, the spending, the playing with. And the more they share this with others, the more fun they get themselves. Second house people generally have very good taste. They like fine decor. They're generally good with things like music, art. They're quite elegant in their own way, but they are very much concerned around the sensible ones are concerned around the quality of what they have, whereas the non-so-sensible ones are concerned with the quantity. You may find, for example, someone such as myself with Saturn retrograde in the second house. Money has no intrinsic value. It is a tool. It is a tool to be used and to be worked with rather than hoarded or saved. Someone with a difficultly placed Saturn in the second house may become quite greedy or possessive, whereas someone, for example, with a healthily aspected Jupiter in the second house is going to be big-hearted, warm, generous, and magnanimous with their outgivings. A Venus, of course, rules the second house. So if you've got a nice Venus in the second house, then you're going to be fine with your attitudes towards resources, possessions and materials. And the moon loves being in the second house. Second house people are good with food. This is a direct link to the second sign of Taurus, because Taurus deals in sensation. And sometimes food and the appreciation of good food is one of the nicest sensations of all. Second house people do make good cooks, and you can always tell the state of a second house person by their attitude towards food. If they have cupboards full of tins and packets, then they're probably quite insecure. But if they're using lots of fresh organic vegetables and fruit in the making of sumptuous feasts which they share with their friends, then they're absolutely well balanced and stable. The second house does not dictate how much you have or what you want from life. That is more the domain of Taurus. The second house describes how you use what you've got, resource management. And the way that you manage and use your resources gives a good indication as to your state of personal evolution. The second house is basically the area of value and resources. The way you value yourself, the way you manage your resources, and the way you share it with the world. If you've got an active second house, be prudent and generous at the same time. Catch you later, world.